Welcome. This is the Enlightenment Show, and I'm your host, Laurie Schoenfeld. This is where Chicken Soup for the Soul meets the artist way with Nancy Drew. Our guest today is Fran Hawthorne, author of I Meant to Tell You. We're going to be chatting with her today all about her new release and a story that she believed in that actually was a myth. Welcome, Fran.
Wow, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to a fun conversation with you.
I'm really excited to talk to you about I Meant to Tell You and where the concept came to be. Before we get started and dive into that, what is a favorite smell that you enjoy in December, Fran?
Oh, um, believe it or not, snow has a smell when it's fresh, and it is this amazing crispiness and freshness of it. And I am not actually a winter person. I tell people I'm a winter weather wimp. I get cold easily, but there is that unique smell.
Mm-hmm. Are you all bundled up, Fran, in the snow, like multiple coats and sweaters type thing?
Oh yeah, hat, glove, yeah.
You're in good company, me too.
Where you are, there's a lot more than where I am.
Yeah, it definitely is nice and toasty inside, but very cold outside most of the time.
Although I have to say, I do like ice skating. So I'm not, and a couple of times I've tried skiing. I enjoyed that too, but otherwise, glad my kids no longer insist I take them out sledding.
There is something to that for sure. I have 3 teenagers, and it's always the request of, can we please go sledding? And I'm in between, no, I don't want to, but yeah, I really want to be that mom that's like having fun with them.
Yeah. And I mean, I do have fun with them. Can we have springtime fun and autumn fun? Anyway.
Yeah, totally with you on that one. Can you share with our listeners and viewers what I Meant to Tell You is all about?
Yeah, there are several themes to it. The one most people talk about is the theme of secrets, and it is a very important theme. And there are more people with more secrets than you might think after the first couple of chapters, and the repercussions of things unsaid. But there are a few more things too. Another is, how much would you do for a friend? And another is the importance, or whether we have responsibility as people who live on the planet, eat food, breathe air, to do something to give back and make the planet that was giving us life, make it a better place. And I don't mean it only in terms of an environment, though that can be one way we do it. Mm-hmm. So if you want to say that's what the book is about thematically, if you want to say what it's about in terms of plot, I can talk about that too. Yeah. Should I go on?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to hear the plot of your story.
Okay, sure. And it sort of almost starts with that third theme. The protagonist, Miranda, has a family history that she is proud of, but she also gives her a certain responsibility. Her grandfather was a union organizer. Her parents were big activists against the Vietnam War in the 60s. So she loves being part of that family, but she feels, oh my gosh, she has this burden on her to carry on this mantle, family activism. And she feels she's not doing her part. This takes place more or less today. It takes place in 2003, mostly in 2003. There are backstories. Anyway, and she is working for a think tank trying to help get better healthcare coverage for people. And she feels, oh, big deal. I am not really living up to my family traditions. And she's engaged to a lawyer named Russ, who also really shares her kind of idealism, also feels, he wants to, his ideal job that he's just been hired for is to be to be a lawyer in the U.S. Attorney's Office and investigate corruption in business and government. And he, however, is not at all proud of his family. He's got a totally opposite feeling. So as the book begins in chapter 1, there was a prologue before that. In chapter 1, Russ is just going through what he thinks is standard FBI vetting for the security clearance. And he learns that actually 7 years earlier, Miranda had been arrested for felony kidnapping and had never bothered to tell him this. So from there, we already have one secret, kind of a big one, and more secrets unravel and affect people that you might not even have thought be dragged in.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed, Fran, how Russ's occupation, like that was a big opener to having that first conversation of something they think is, Miranda just asking questions, curious questions, and finding out later with his occupation, like there's more to her questioning.
Thank you. Yeah, right. Because at the beginning, Russ can't suspect that her questions apply to her. Like, gee, what if the FBI found out? And he, don't be silly. That's not going to happen. Well, what if it's a misdemeanor? And and that's, that's part of the way sometimes we have relationships with people where we are delicately figuring out, what can I tell them? What will make them upset? And they're a nice person. I don't want to upset them. What will strain our relationship? What is important for them to know? What do I want to get off my chest, but they don't need to know it? What do I want to hide and they do need to know it? These three different things in many different forms of honesty and many different forms of secrecy, whether you want to define it as lying or not.
Mm-hmm. As you were writing your book, how did you emotionally connect to your main character, Miranda, and her story?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I all of them connect in different ways. So constantly you're thinking, well, take that back. Often you are thinking, how would this make her feel? And in my case, I act out the gestures and I look in the mirror for the emotions on the face. But many times I don't think it out because she just moves ahead and acts. Mm-hmm. And then she tells me how she's feeling. But yeah, the nervousness of wondering, oh gosh, what should I say? Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. And then the shock too of thinking you had certain things that you were sure of in your life. Mm-hmm. They're not, and that is a pain in the gut, and I've been there too.
Yeah. As you mentioned before, trust in relationships is a big theme within your novel. Why was it important for your characters to explore and examine those layers?
Well, and of course, in some cases, they thought it wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
that the secrets could be kept. I think I'll deal with the one, for example, that is revealed pretty early on and that I kind of just revealed, when Russ learns that Miranda had this humongous secret, made her arrest, and she knew he was getting security vetting. It's important for him to explore it because he's got to say, is she still the person I thought I was marrying? I thought I was marrying a person who would never commit a felony, would never kidnap anybody. That alone makes her not the person I thought she was. And what else might she be hiding? You're about to marry somebody. I mean, those are serious issues that, understandably, you need to explore. And Miranda, first of all, says, well, wait a second. It's not the kind of kidnapping you thought it was. And I'm still all these other things that haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
So she does feel guilty about not having told him, but she's also starting to wonder. She feels he's overreacting, so that makes her wonder: is he the person I thought he was? And he does let something slip that then he clams up about. It doesn't seem to be such a big secret, and she would have just brushed it away, but now she's into a way to justify herself. She's trying to find reasons to blame him, to justify what she did wasn't so bad.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that people keep things, just in general as humans, that we keep things from each other?
Oh, there's so many reasons, some understandable because you and I are humans, and okay, I have kept things secret. I would assume you have to. Some that seem a little hard to understand. Okay, some of them, for example, okay, we'll start with the easy ones, right? The white lie that a person says, whatever. Oh, I'm so excited, whatever. My look at how cute my dog is. Okay, he's adorable. He's adorable. And or the ones that I don't know. Is it that important that I'm trying to think. Let's say a friend of mine is so relieved that she passed her driver's test on the first try and she's bragging it. Do I really need to tell her I failed 3 times? And by the way, I didn't. But I'm just saying, does that really matter? It's going to embarrass me. The ones that you don't think they need to know. And it moves up from there, the ones you think would make them think less of you, but in a much more serious way than that. And what difference does it make? Maybe you don't have an important relationship with them. Maybe a relationship is so strong that you feel that that's so minor. The ones you feel that would, hurt their feelings, but it's more important than the dog is ugly. So you have to think long and hard. How important? What would it do to our relationship? Does our relationship need this? What does it say about me, this secret? How would this person react? Honesty is not always the easiest policy, and it's not always the best one. I must sound like a horrible person. Oh gosh, people out there, I'm really nice. And I don't have any horrible dark secrets, but I'm really, when you're writing novels, unless they're going to be cardboard characters, you have to look at things in so many sides and with so many ramifications. And then, as one character says, sometimes you've locked into it and you've forgotten that actually there was a secret you're hiding. You almost think it's the truth. You've just forgotten about it. You did it to begin with because it was like, it's not important. It'll hurt them. Mm-hmm. And then you forget. And so sometimes it's almost, knee-jerk, inadvertent. It's probably a million more reasons that I haven't got. Well, sometimes, of course, it really is to cover up something terrible that you hope will never be discovered. Let's not forget those. There are those.
I love that you brought that up, though, within your book, because it is so relatable that we all keep our own secrets for many different and diverse reasons.
Thank you. Yeah. And like I said, they run the gamut from little tiny white lie to the I'm going to try to literally get away with murder and hope I can go back, wash myself up, go back home, cover up all my clues and never get caught. I mean, so.
Yeah. Have you, Fran, ever tried to search for someone?
Yes, but not in a real deep way. In other words, I've done Google searches, right? No. Whatever did happen. Okay, I'll just give you one silly example. A lot of the names in my book, I try to choose my name carefully. And so Miranda's father, Jerry, is named for guy I knew in high school who, to my friends and me, he was just like the epitome of like the radical activist. We kind of had a nerd crush on him, like a political crush. And his name was Jerry. And when I was just like even a couple weeks ago, when someone else was asking me about the names, and I thought, oh, let me Google him. I never. He was a couple years ahead of me in high school. He went off to college. I absolutely never tried to follow up. And I mean, that's the kind of thing I didn't really search very hard. And in fact, he has much too common a name. And, I gave up. Nothing seemed obviously him. So I have done that, as I suppose we all have. But I've never set out and, traveled and I don't know, dug into ancestry.com. I mean, or well, I'm just lucky. My father made an elaborate family tree. I didn't have to, but I did have my DNA done because I wanted to check my heritage, not the medical part, but the sort of geographical, ethnic part. But again, I wasn't trying to connect to other people. So I haven't done those kinds of really serious searches. And thank goodness I don't have there's no sort of unsolved crimes in my family history that we're trying to find, the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm. You have always been a writer from the time that you were a kid. Tell us about that.
Yes. And it's the only career I've ever had too. A lot of people say, oh, I wanted to be a writer when I was a little kid. I wrote poems, I wrote stories, And so for me to say I started writing books at the age of 4, to me, that's not significant. But what is significant to me is that I was absolutely serious this was going to be my career. I kept on elementary, junior high. Some of the books were pretty sophisticated for elementary school. And in junior high, I sent one off to a publisher. And I got in return, a letter saying, please contact us again when you're old enough to sign a contract. So, absolutely serious. And I also knew that you can't, I don't know how I knew you can't earn a living writing books, which is, to my experience, true. Maybe because I didn't know anybody who earned a living writing books. So I looked around, and my dad was an engineer, no interest in that. My mom was an English teacher, not much interest in that either, but it was close to writing. So I said, okay, I'll be an English teacher and I'll write books. And the world, every classroom in the world is so lucky that I didn't become a teacher. So what happened was in college, my sophomore year, one of my roommates said, if you like to write so much, why don't you try out for the school newspaper? And I was insulted. I don't do newspapers. I do fiction. I do art. But I went and tried out and got an assignment. And it was fun, interviewed students. And they were very impressed. And I have to do the shout out. This was the University of California at Berkeley. And this was the student newspaper, the Daily Californian, because really that changed my life. I got put on the staff. And for the next few decades, I was hooked. I, became managing editor of the newspaper. I had some, what's called a stringer. I was like a regular freelancer for the San Francisco Examiner. And then I got a job quickly out of college in Silicon Valley. And then I just kept going. And, we just kept better and better, sort of jobs. And then just when I was getting tired of, at this point it was weekly, because I worked for dailies, weeklies, monthlies. I was getting kind of tired. I got offered my first book contract, which was a nonfiction book. Oh, great. I'm going to have a book. And I quit, that cold turkey, that full-time job with benefits and everything. But I did, and my first book came out, which was about the drug company Merck. And I got more book contracts, all nonfiction, but I was having fun. And I was doing freelance writing on the side because, as I said, you don't earn a living writing books. And I was interviewing, the CEOs, and I was to Switzerland, and I went to Puerto Rico, and because I'm a political nerd, I mean, I went to the White House and met President Clinton, and I went to 4 national political conventions, and so I was just having a great time. And in my spare time, throughout all those years, college onward, I would, write a short story, put it aside, start a novel, put it aside. I'm tired. I spend all day writing. I'll do it on my vacation. What a fool I was. I said, I'll do it on maternity leave for my first child. Are you crazy? Less time than anything. So I kept, trying a little, but putting it aside and finding excuses. And what finally, pushed me off, which is not a good reason, but my parents died within 7 months of each other, and I said it's not a good reason, and I don't want to lightly say, oh well, and then I started writing, but it does make you. I mean, I think a death of anybody important to you, it makes you think about what have I done with my life.
Yeah.
Which I have somewhat in common with Miranda about that. She felt like she's not carrying on her family heritage, and I felt like I wasn't carrying on my own dreams. It wasn't a family heritage. So when you asked how I related to Miranda, my main character, and I meant to tell you, that is one of the ways. So I said, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to, I'd already quit the job for the first book, but I'm going to quit my freelancing. I'm going to not do any freelancing for at least a year, and really focus on writing a novel. And I just went back through some of the more recent ones that I had saved. I did not save any of my novels from elementary school, which really annoys me. And just pulled out one, and for a lot of reasons that I can get into. But anyway, I wrote that. 4 years ago, it got published. That was my first novel, The HEIRS. And thank you. And, then I was hooked. I mean, oh my God, what took me so long to get to, fiction? Having a great time doing nonfiction. And so then I said, this is it. I'm going to, this is fine. But I've known that I want to do all my life, And so I dug back in and wrote, wrote. I meant to tell you, I did write after many, many revisions. And, I never threw my laptop on the floor. I have not done that because I'm too conscious of if I broke it, then I can't write, so, but throw myself on the floor.
I'm sending you lots of love, Fran, for your parents. I started writing shortly after my grandma, who was basically my mother to me. She passed away, and before she passed away, she made sure to let me know, do not be like me and not follow your dreams as a writer. And that amplified so much in that moment for me too.
Oh, that is beautiful. So your grandmother had wanted to be a writer. Oh, wow.
She was a singer and loved to sing, loved to perform, and gave it up for multiple reasons, but always regretted that she gave it up. She always would tell me, I wish that I had never given it up. And now I'm at the point where, I don't feel like I can do it anymore. And so it was kind of her almost commitment to me of, please promise me that you won't do the same thing I did and let go of your dreams.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. I'm glad. I'm sorry she died. Yeah. Why does it take death of people we love to spur us? It's not right.
It's not, but it's very interesting how there is that spark of what you mentioned, that almost that legacy piece of that connection of trying to connect to things and understand things in a different way from what we understood before.
Yeah, there's that too. There are two different things. One is the sort of, I'm doing it for grandma, in your sake. And then the other is looking at life a new way and not taking it for granted. They can happen at the same time, but Yeah, I mean, look, everyone dies, and so it's kind of the silver lining is that there is a silver lining. You know, the silver lining to my parents' death is that it spurred me, you know, to finally get back to the fiction writing. You know, and they were, I mean, they were proud of me for my journalism career.
Mhm.
You know, it wasn't like I had to wait till they were dead to do this, and it wasn't that at all. You know, there are some
Mhm.
people, unfortunately, who do feel that way, and you know,
Mhm.
that's a question. See, now that's a case talking about honesty and secrecy in families. Maybe it's something that could be talked about openly. I mean, I'm already making up my next novel, but I have 3 others lined up for that one, unless I can somehow combine that into one of my other 3. So I don't know.
What did you love most about interviewing when you were doing journalism?
Everybody is so different, and the things that you learn. I mean, like I say, I'm a volunteer, like tour guide at a museum, and the best part is not when I blather on about the exhibits. The best part is when they bring their stories to me. And it's the same thing in journalism. And because you think you know, you have your questions lined up, and you think you know what you're setting out to find, and if you're
Mhm.
lucky, you may even find it. But you're even luckier along the way. People say things that you didn't expect, and they might just be interesting hobbies of the person, or they might lead to a new line of investigation. You know.
Mhm.
By the way, the worst thing about being a journalist is also interviewing people, from my point of view. And the reason is that I feel like I am pushing myself into their lives, forcing myself, and I don't like that. So I'm kind of glad to be out of that. You know.
What is the story, Fran, that you believed in that you later found out was a myth?
Okay. First, I have to preface that by saying, and I don't want to disappoint anybody listening, watching. There definitely are stories in my family, but nothing as dramatic as the ones, you know, in my book. And I meant to tell you. And I mean, that's actually good, because novels should be much more dramatic than real life, or we would all be insane. Um, or if a novel was as boring as most of our lives, we would not want to read them. So I'm not going to be able to confess to some incredible secret that I discovered, that this is not true, you know, that, you know, like one of my parents wasn't my parent. That's not going to happen. I don't think. I really don't think that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Um, but sure, they were. Okay, here's the. I'll give you one. So my dad was born in Poland, and got out, thank goodness, as a little boy with his parents and sisters, just shortly before Hitler invaded. You know, we're Jewish, so it's a good thing they got out. So we always, and his last name for my whole life was Hawthorne. That's my name. That's, you know, so we knew that he changed his name. And my grandparents had the name Hirschcore. You know, we knew my dad changed his name to make it sound more American, to blend in and not stand out. You know. And then at some point, a cousin said, "Oh yeah, it's because of your mom." I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah, because how he chose the name Hawthorne, not the reason for changing it, was he wanted, right, an American name, and he wanted it to be kind of pay a little bit of homage to Hirschkorn, to his original name." And so she said, "Oh, she was an English teacher, right?" She said, "Well, you know, how about Hawthorne, Nathaniel Hawthorne, a great American writer?" Oh,
Mhm.
that made sense to me. Not at all true. Um, so years later, and I don't know, why didn't I ever ask him until the, you know, I don't know. Because you're a kid, your parents aren't people, you don't ask them. You only
Mhm.
ask them, "Can I do this? Can I have this?" Anyway, so years later, a different cousin um, asked him, and we were just sitting around, you know, some family dinner, and, you know, asked him, you know, "So how did you choose the name Hawthorne?" And my dad said, "Well, actually, yeah, I wanted an American sounding name that sounded somewhat similar to my original name." And he said he was literally on the subway, lived in New York, on the subway, heading to sort of the final step of citizenship. And he had the phone book, because in those days they had telephone books, leafing through, and settled on Hawthorne. It doesn't matter at all, right? The motivation was the same. The end result is the same. It's Hawthorne, and okay. Well, this is another small secret. And then I never thought twice about it one way or the other until, I don't know, when my mother thought I was old enough, maybe after my grandparents were dead, she said, your grandparents were very upset that he changed the name. Oh, I didn't, because, it was, my grandfather's entire family was murdered in the Holocaust. The only people left with that name were my grandmother, my grandfather, the two daughters who back in those days were going to change their names when they married and did, and my father. And then my father. So it didn't occur to me that so there we have the complicated story of my father's name, which is, again, the secrets are not that terrible. Why would parents tell a little girl that what her father did, her grandparents? Why would you ever tell your daughter that? Of course not, right? My grandparents, from everything I ever saw, they were happy. They loved my parents. They loved me, Anyway, so that's just a couple of tiny secrets that make life interesting,
The stories that we think we know, either that get changed from the person telling them or changed from someone else hearing a different story and then compiling all of them together.
Oh, there's so much. Right. Different cousins getting different versions of the grandparents. Or you go back in, the game of telephone, and no one intends to change the truth, but it just, there are details that, all the cousins now, we ask each other and we don't know. No one alive left who knows them. So yeah, and those are just, nobody's hurt by the secrets. No one's hurt by the revelation of the truth. It's kind of the best kind of secrets, I suppose. Right? Well, not for a novel, but for real life.
We're going to turn it to the inner child question segment. Are you ready, Fran?
Try. You already know it. I was a writer. Okay. Go ahead.
First question. Who was your hero when you were a kid?
Okay, we're going to go past the stage when I'm sure my parents were my heroes, which I don't remember. Oh, well, my older sister, God, I adored her and copied her and everything. But if you want to get beyond family, because then the next kind of heroes I can think of were when I was in college, and every person on the school newspaper wanted to be, Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, who uncovered Watergate. So, those are a wide variety of heroes.
So it was an older sister that you adored when you were younger?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you adore about her?
Well, because she was older, she knew everything, she just had great ideas, it just was, again, maybe you're not a younger sibling, but maybe
I'm the oldest, so yep.
I'm sorry, you're what?
I'm the oldest, so no.
Maybe your younger ones adored you.
Hopefully, maybe. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Second question. What was something that you did as a teenager that you shake your head about to this day?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Where do I begin? Okay. Yeah. Okay, do I go to the little ones or the big ones? Well, oh gosh, yes. Okay, I'll go with an embarrassment, but I wasn't all that, popular in school. I had frizzy hair. This was not popular hair. And so, there was this, I don't know, popular, handsome boy, asked me out for a few dates, and then he called me up and he asked me for the phone number of my much prettier girlfriend.
Oh.
I should have either told him off or hung up. You know what I did? I gave him the phone number. I was such a jerk.
No.
That is like, talk about low self-image. So, okay, that is really embarrassing to reveal. You know.
Because I'm totally with you, Fran. I had a best friend who was dating one boy, but had a crush on a completely different boy and was about ready to break up with her boyfriend. But she didn't want the boy she had a crush on to go with anyone else. So she asked me, would you please ask him to the dance so no one else can go to the dance with him? And I know that you won't hit on him because you're a loyal friend. And I did do that. And I shake my head still to this day because it was like, of course, those two hung out the whole dance. And I was sitting there kind of in the corner by myself thinking, why did I decide to do that?
In my book, how far will you go to help a friend? You see, you just... did you and she stay friends after that?
A little bit longer, but not much. No, that was like a huge red flag. That evening was like a really good opening for me to just kind of see like, okay, there's some red flags here. Are we going to continue to sit in this space or like, what are we doing here?
It's funny that you and I still remember these stories many years later. And I knew at the time I was being a total doormat. Why was I doing this? Because I was a good student at school. And when a teacher asked a question, I answered it. He asked a question, I answered it. I think it had more to do with that, actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Third question. What is the oddest food combo that you've liked and tried, or you've just tried?
Liked and tried. Oddest food combo. Oh, boy. Because I can tell the oddest one I didn't like. Let me think. I'm sure that it'd have to be, one of the non-all-American dishes I've tried. But I guess
what was a dish that you didn't like? So that was odd that you tried and you did not like it.
Oh, see, that comes. Chocolate chip bagel doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work. Yeah. But I had to try it. So,
did you put cream cheese on it, or was it just a bagel by itself?
Oh yeah, no. Just by itself was bad. I don't think the cream cheese could have improved it. Yeah, you think chocolate goes with everything, but it doesn't.
Yeah. You're like, not with the bagel.
I'm sorry, I drew a blank on your other one. Oh, I'm just not a foodie, to be honest. So
no, that's perfect, and that's why I asked if you put cream cheese on it, because sometimes at least for me, I feel like sometimes if something tastes awful, then I'm like, maybe like a condiment of some sort,
butter,
a little bit
cheese, chocolate. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Before we end today, Fran, what advice can you give our listeners and viewers on what living a creatively abundant life means to you?
Wow, what a beautiful phrase. Well, I love the combined because it means, for one thing, being creative in many ways, not just writing. It also means opening up your mind so that you can at any time be filled with an abundance of ideas, I guess. And it means, and also being open to all kinds of new experiences. So yeah, it really has to do with, I'm emphasizing the abundance more than the creative, because I think that's the key. If you go out and try new things, whether it's oddball foods or push yourself to run another quarter mile you didn't think you could, or go to that party you thought you'd be the wallflower, not you at that dance, but or go visit that place you feel you're too tired to visit, go to that interview for that job you don't think you want, go talk to that person that looks boring, whatever. open yourself up, because the world is an abundant place, and just keep trying. I don't want to sound like a Pollyanna, but try something new. Every day might be too hard, but how about every week? Try something.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much, because it brings back what you said before of going into journalism, how the first thought you had was no, and you actually really enjoyed it once you got in there.
Thank you for reminding me of that. That was one of the many things I had to be open to, and I'm so glad I was. Yeah.
Where can our listeners and viewers find you after the show if they have any questions about I Meant to Tell You, or any projects that you're working on right now?
Thank you for asking. So I have a website. Okay, my brand is Hawthorne Writer. HAWTHORNEWRITER, all one word. So my website is hawthornewriter.com, which is probably your best single place to find out more embarrassing things about my childhood. And then on Twitter, Hawthorne Writer, Instagram, Hawthorne Writer. I think LinkedIn, I'm plain old Fran Hawthorne, though. I mean, but obviously, if you Google my name, any of these will come up. I don't know, but if you want to say physically, I have several book talks coming up in January. If you really want to know physically where I'm going to be.
Yes, please.
Okay, in Montclair, New Jersey, on January 12th. These are all evenings, around 7:30. Montclair, New Jersey, at Walk Tongue Booksellers on January 12th. Manhattan, at P&T Knitwear Bookstore, January 19th. And in Saratoga Springs, New York, up near Albany, at Northshire Books, around 7 p.m. on January 26th. So every Thursday in January, basically. And there'll be more coming up on my website. So thank you for that. Wow. And the book, I should say also, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it barnesandnoble.com, Books A Million. Go up to, my favorite is to go to your local bookstore and ask them to order it. So is that enough?
Thank you so much, Fran, for being here and joining us today, and for writing I Meant to Tell You.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for the great questions.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for those who have joined us live and will join us on the replay. Remember, as you go about the rest of your week, to find the things that are working within your life. You are the creator of your own story. What steps are you going to take next? We'll see you right here at 10 o'clock a.m. Mountain Standard Time on Monday. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Thank you, Fran.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.